Well, good morning. It's great to be here. And I thank you for being here, but most importantly, I need to congratulate all of you. You are this very special group of people. I don't know if you realize that, but you are basically the visionary, the pioneers that are actually taking this advanced technology, and you're the first people in the world that are actually putting it to solve business problems. And you've seen the presentation so far. The most interesting thing that there were so many of these, we had such a hard time selecting them. And I apologize for people who said we couldn't put you on the agenda. Next year, we'll probably have 2 different or 3 different sessions going on in parallel because there's so many of you. And so all 220, 230 people that are here today, plus about 1,300 people that are registered online, I want to congratulate you. And I think you really need a round of applause to yourself. Now, my name is Lorenzo Martinelli, so that you know what I do here. I run a team, a DWave, called the customer team. And that includes people in the marketing team that organize this event, people in the business development and sales team, people in technical advising that are helping customers figure out use cases for us to work on, people in the education group that are building the training and deliver training, and all the people in professional services that are work for example, with Lindsay to put together POCs, pilots, and help people to get to production. And our number one mission here is to figure out what is the best customer journey we can provide to you to achieve quantum success. So the session today is to have 3 folks that we recruited in to talk about their journey so they can share that with you. But the whole team we have, 40 plus people worldwide, are all sitting here at the event because over the next 2 days, we want to hear from you. What are things that we're doing well? What are things that you want us to do better? Any new ideas that we haven't thought about it? Because right after Qubits end, we began 3 days here of a meeting primarily focused on how do we deliver the best quantum journey in the industry. And as you can tell, we're the first vendor that is at this stage. And so we're breaking grounds of how do we make it easier for you to take advantage of this great technology that Alan talked about this morning. The technology is one small piece of everything you need. You saw those charts from Lindsay. There's so many everythings you need to be successful, and we want to make it easier for you, both from a product perspective, from training and so on. Which partners should we have? I was talking to Lindsay just before that. What are the vendors you would like us to connect with so that it's easier for you? We want to hear from you, and they're all here to talk to you over breaks, over dinner, tomorrow, and get your input. The more you can share with us, the more we can deliver that experience for you. So with that, now I want to go through and I have a number of questions for Lindsay, Steve, and Scott to take from their perspective. And Lindsay we picked because you heard lots of experience of being all the way to production, and I've been linked through that. Steve is kind of in between that process. I think you're going to explain where you're at. And Scott has lots of opportunity working with many clients to help them through the journey all the way through. So we thought 3 different perspectives. And of course, here we're primarily focused on optimization. We could use the same panel to people that are working on AI, the same panel on people that are doing advanced research, material research, and so on. But we had to pick one, so we picked this one here. Next year, maybe we have 3 different panels going through at the same time, 3 different tracks. So with that, maybe we can start with some questions. Lindsay, you talked already about the story. How did you get started? So maybe we can go a little further. I mean, how did you put together a team that did so well in your organization?
Yeah, and it really was, I think, a testament to the team. That's part of why we were so successful. So our team is led by Benny, who was actually in Miami last year presenting a little bit about our story. He has a background in OR, and so this is kind of his bread and butter. And then I think we had 2 data engineers and another data scientist. That was for the first problem. When we tried to tackle the second problem, it was obviously more complicated. So we added in a data analyst to go through and look through the data, make sure we were documenting all of the quality rules that had to be met, and then a second data scientist as well. And we had an ML engineer helping us with the productionization.
I'm a little biased. I have 25 years of operational research. That's my background.
Yeah.
So I'm a big supporter of that. Maybe, the audience doesn't know you, doesn't know, Steve, what you're working on. Maybe you can start a little further back. Tell us a little bit about which area of Mastercard, how did you get involved? Maybe start with further backs.
Sure, yeah. So I sit within the R&D group in Mastercard, and my role is to focus on emerging technologies and mostly AI and machine learning. And about 4 years ago or thereabouts, my boss at the time, the global head of R&D, asked me to start to look into quantum technology. And other than knowing the name, I didn't really know anything much about it at that stage. We initially got involved in the quantum space working with IBM Research, who have a quantum group in Dublin, and we got involved in a consortium with them. But once we had that kind of entry into the space, we started to try and understand the landscape to see what the different technologies were out there, the different players, and very quickly came across DWave, essentially offering a different perspective and a different point of view on what the technology could do versus the gate model architecture that Alan talked about in the morning. And so that kind of then evolved into initially us being a user of the DWave platform, and culminated in about 2 years ago, we signed a long-term partnership with DWave to essentially jointly explore applications where we saw benefit within our business and products that we could offer to our customers, and to figure out how we could then apply the DWave tech stack to solve some of those problems. So two of the ones that are kind of most fruitful at the moment, we're looking at the whole area of offer allocation and optimization. So a big part of Mastercard's product set is to offer loyalty and rewards products to our issuing banks and to their customers. And there's a big optimization problem to be solved there to figure out, well, how do we give the right offer to the right person at the right time? So that's kind of one area of exploration we're involved in. And then the second one that we've made quite a lot of progress recently is the whole area of essentially machine learning optimization. How can we apply optimization technology to make our machine learning models in areas like fraud better and more performant? So there are two avenues that we're exploring, and hopefully many more to follow.
Yeah. And there are two things that I've been on board, so everybody knows, about 3 months or so. I've known Alan for 25 years. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've taken 2 companies public. And over the last 3 months, I've heard this at least a dozen times where I've been working with somebody else and spending all this money and so on, but nothing to show for. And now I need to call you and bring you in. So in general, obviously, you heard the message. The technology is available now. But then the question is, how do we start? And the word that you just used, I keep on hearing that, exploration. So how to look around all the use cases in your organization and figure out which ones are well suited for the technology. Because number one, if you know anything about optimization, number one, what optimization problem you fit, but also the instance of that problem. It doesn't necessarily mean that it will be great at every one. So working with customers early on to help them figure out, based on our experience, what are the optimization problems where they're likely to be good technical results. And where are you now? Maybe tell us, where are you in the journey?
Yeah, so we have conducted quite a number of experiments, both internally and in conjunction with the DWave teams. We're at the point where the results are intermediate but promising, I would say. So the intuition we're getting is that we're on the right track. We certainly need to do more work to validate that, and I kind of appreciated Alan's note earlier about essentially not getting ahead of our skis here and announcing results before we're ready. So, but I'm confident that we're on the right path. The results that we're getting so far point us in the right direction. To give you an example, on the machine learning optimization side, we've been able to see, at least for the data sets that we've explored, that we can optimize our models to essentially take out a large number of parameters or a large number of features in those models that aren't adding a lot of value. So we can make the models more efficient without in any way downgrading the efficacy of those models. So that's, as I said, an intermediate result. We're trying to validate that, but it tells us we're in the right direction, and more research hopefully will get us to the point where we have the confidence to start to put some of those results into production and follow companies like Pattison behind that.
Awesome. Good. Then I am so interested to hear all the different clients, Scott, you're involved with. What do you see the patterns? How do you help clients at different stages? Tell us all about it. How did you get involved in this?
So I work for Deloitte, and we're a global consultancy. About 4 or 5 years ago, sort of similar time frame, I was approached. I was working a lot in our emerging technologies group, and I got asked if I wanted to become the lead for our quantum computing program and exploration. We started by actually trying to retrain people we already had. So we found some passionate folks with proclivity. That got us so far. We wound up then hiring in a couple key people with talent and experience, and that's actually accelerated our ability to be productive in the space. So we have basically taken data scientists and mathematicians and a handful of others who have talent and ability, in cross-train them for DWave and optimization, for instance, but also done a number of other things as well. And so we've been working with clients. A lot of the art at the moment is figuring out where do the tools apply to problems at hand? Where are those tools likely to actually be interesting? Because the threshold, as I remind people, we have something like 70 years of the smartest people in the world trying to solve problems with today's computers. The bar for doing better from a business perspective is extraordinarily high. And as a result, trying to find some of those key spaces where the problems are interesting and add value is actually really challenging.
Absolutely. Now, where do you see the challenges? Is it on a technology perspective? Is it on a people in the team, the business case, or across the board?
There are many problems. One of them is actually sort of interesting. It's easier to tackle innovation when you have problems that are discrete from a business perspective. So a lot of times what you'll have is a really big enterprise planning system or something, and optimization is one piece in the middle of a chain of events. Mm-hmm. And if it's not straightforward to pull that optimization problem out for logistics, for instance, it becomes much harder to actually do a better job of that optimization because people have a black box and they don't really want to monkey with what's inside. Once you get past that, then there are technical challenges, there are all sorts of other challenges, and in a lot of cases, the alternatives are really good too. So the trade-off in the business case becomes really important.
Great. So maybe we come back to you, Lindsay, a bit. What would be, if you talk to anybody in the room here, what would be the advice you would give people if you, given your experience?
So hire great people, hire people who are curious, who are technically sound, but also just want to learn. And then, the partnership with DWave, like I said, it's a lot easier than you think it is. So their professional services team are great. They came in, they helped us kind of break the problem down. But using the solver is pretty seamless. And once you do it once, applications of using it for other projects are just endless. So don't let it hold you back.
Great. Steve, same question for you. What was your advice?
Yeah, I think where we found the most success is working with, firstly finding the right business problems. And as Scott alluded to, typically the optimization problems are part of a much bigger problem. So finding out where they are, what products they exist in, and then kind of working with our internal product teams that have an appetite to try and explore new areas. And that's often a challenge because these guys have hard deadlines, they have quarterly targets to meet, they have new product features they're trying to deliver all the time, and trying to inject some novel technology into the middle of that can sometimes be very challenging. But finding the teams that have the right kind of appetite level and who see the benefit of exploring a new technology, to solve their problems. I think that to me is the key, to find those business owners who can really kind of deliver for us.
Got it. Scott.
I'd say get help and get started. So I think unless you already have a team who's been working in the space, it is worth finding somebody or somebodies who have worked in the space to help the team get started. Whether that's DWave Professional Services or somebody else, whether it's somebody you hire into the organization, it's really hard to start if you don't know where you are. And the second thing is I would say get started, because what we've found in a number of these cases is there's a lot of nuance, there's a lot of complexity in any of the quantum-related technologies, and so it takes a year or 2 or 3 for people to become proficient. So some of them are more straightforward, some of them are more complex. My sort of personal suspicion is that what we're going to see is In optimization, we have operations researchers who get cross-trained, but I think what we're increasingly going to see in the more general space is quantum information science becoming a thing. And as it becomes a thing, we're going to realize it's as complex as data science. It takes a couple of years to train a data scientist. I think if you look at the timelines, it's probably time to actually start on that journey.
Yeah, good point. So when we say quantum success, I break it down into three areas. One is organizational success, whether you're improving costs or service levels or revenue, if you're doing research where you're driving new inventions or anything like that. The second dimension is personal success. You know, how does this help your career, and what can you do to get sort of visibility and so on? And the third thing is creating an experience that is fun and engaging, meeting new people. This is why this event is a physical event of that. This idea, how do we build a community around that? So I want to ask, along those three dimensions, any thoughts or any idea? Let's start with organizational success. Lindsay, how does the organization look at the business value that you've generated so far? How do they quantify that?
Yeah, so we have a pretty formalized process for bringing business cases to the leadership team for approval, especially when you're doing something new like this, that there's maybe some doubt about whether that problem can be solved. And so we do that, the POC first, prove it can be done, and then do a pilot and roll it out kind of slowly. But it's really about how many hours do you think you can save in the case of our project. And that is a conversation you need to have with the senior leaders in that space. So get them to actually believe in you, prove it can be done, kind of build that trust, and then make sure you have some processes in place to actually measure the results.
I was curious on your use cases. Did you see any changes in attrition or retention of people? Did the people side was measured at all? I'm curious.
You mean for the end users in the stores?
Yeah, in the store. The picking the better, I saw the kind of bunching and so on. Did that have any impact on people wanting to work there?
It hasn't yet, but it's possible, right? Because those, like I said, those schedules will be more fair. Yeah, we haven't noticed that yet. There's so many different factors that play into retention in our stores, especially the market. But I would say on my team of analysts and engineers and data scientists, the fact that we're partnering with quantum partners like DWave is actually an attractor. So we're getting a lot of attention, a lot of interest, especially from the universities, new grads that want to come and work with us. And there is a lot of competition in the marketplace for jobs, but we haven't really lost anyone. They're really excited to come and stay and work on projects like this. So it's been great for my team. Yeah.
Good to hear. Steve, what about your organization? How do you measure organizational success?
Yeah, I think early on it's more about getting projects done and kind of showing results rather than necessarily economic benefits in terms of revenue drivers. A lot of what I do is talking to executives and trying to educate them as to the art of the possible. And what I find often is the understanding of quantum is very broad ranged. In some cases, people think it's sort of science fiction and 50 years away. In other cases, people think it's magical technology that will solve all of our problems. So trying to constrain and set people's expectations is certainly a part of it. But there are the obvious metrics of, will this help me, reduce costs or increase revenue? There are certainly ones that we're focused on. But there's also a sort of a halo effect, I think, of working with emerging technology that demonstrates to our customers that we're looking at, what are the most advanced technologies and how are we applying them to solve the hardest problems. So I think the business drivers are a mix of all of those. But to come back to a point that Scott made, I think the challenge on the flip side is the bar is very, very high. Traditional technology is very good at solving a very, very wide range of problems. And so we really have to kind of pick our battles and try to say, here are the areas where emerging technologies like quantum can solve that traditional technologies are going to fall short.
Yeah. But along that area, we have this whole project going on to really, we call it ideal customer profile or ideal project profile, to figure out what are the criteria, and based on our experience, so 200 plus are looking at these, that we can then share with a group. And we actually go in with this, a methodological assessment to figure out what is the fit in terms of technology, in terms of business value, and so on. And Because like any technology, I've been involved in 5 different waves of technology. Early on, it's the usual Clayton innovation dilemma. The new technology is not as mature as the old one, but the improvement curve is obviously much faster. So how do you pick the ones that are the best, the low-hanging fruit to begin with that? So definitely, I think there's a way to systematize that. And when Alan and I first met, we were early days of cloud computing, and believe it or not, in 1999, cloud was, nobody knew about cloud, and the two of us worked in a startup, and we spent $103 million to realize we're too early. And then the next one, of course, we took public and so on. But, we're definitely picking the right battle is so important to make sure to show the success.
Yeah.
What about any other thoughts around organizational success? How do you help clients figure that out?
Well, I would say, in addition to everything that's already been said by Steve and Lindsay, is there are likely people in your organization today, in your organizations today, who are already independently exploring quantum computing. And we've found that some of our path to success is actually harnessing the passion and energy that already exists, because the good news is when you have new cool technology, it doesn't take as much work to get people excited about it. Then the next trick is usually picking among the people who are excited, the ones who are actually going to be good at it. But, that's a good problem to have.
Got it. So let's talk about personal success. When you think about it from your career, your teams and so on, being innovator, being pioneer is usually, I think, of a 2%er. It's only 2% of a market that wants to be first. That's typically, statistically, what happens. So what would make you be that 2%er? What drives you to take that leap?
Oh, yeah, that's a tough question. I think just having, curiosity, some excitement, and the drive to get it done. Yeah, so let's make it work. I think it's just personally, it's been huge for our team, the fact that we were able to actually deliver this and get it to work. And now we're kind of funded to start new projects too. And the reputation that the team is getting within the organization has just grown because we were able to solve this problem that we haven't been able to solve for decades, like I said. So pretty exciting.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's similar to what Scott said. I'm kind of in love with technology. I've been in technology in various areas for all of my career, and so this has been a fantastic area to stay absolutely current and get up to speed with the next evolution of what computing is going to be. So from that point of view, personally and for my team, that's kind of the huge attractor. And I think what we'll see with quantum, as we are seeing with AI now, and we've seen with mobile and internet in the last couple of decades. We're going through a paradigm shift, and to be part of that, and to be driving that, and to be influencing at a corporate level, where companies are going around that, I think is super exciting. So for me, that's kind of the interest on top of the obvious ones of solving existing problems as best we can.
Got it. Yeah.
Well, I guess I'd say yes, and the lovely thing is being able to try to help take really complex things and try to make them a little bit simpler to understand. I love the fact that lots of people like to explain quantum computing by starting with the physics. And I've made a point of refusing to, because I would challenge most of the people in this room to remind me how a transistor works. Yet we can all use our phones just fine. So I think in many cases, what's important is uses and use cases, not mechanics and first principles, as interesting as they might be.
Great. So as we wrap up, again, our big focus here is how do we develop this experience? And we start all the way from awareness. So think about it. How do you get folks in your organization aware of what's possible, what's not? What can we do to help you achieve that? So people in the business and so on. It's fascinating. When on my first day on the job, Alan goes, come to this investor conference. And it was a speed dating thing. So we had 12 different investors that want to sit down with Alan, our CFO. And it's so funny because you can see some of them lean in and they don't want anybody to know, that they want to ask the question, but ask, Alan, can you just explain to me what quantum is in simple terms? Because I'm just an investor, I don't understand this. And so how do we make it easier? Because sometimes you saw a session, a couple sessions ago, you look at that and go, wow, do I need to do a PhD to understand quantum? Well, not really. But how do we do a better job on that? Then the second thing is the exploration. We talked about it. How do you find the low-hanging fruit that fits the technology, the data is available, and it's good quality data, it fits into the process and so on. How do we help you explore that? And when we find use cases that work, for example, work for scheduling, we make you aware, so what is possible, what people have done. Then the next process is to go through a proof of concept. Does it really work in your environment, technically? The other thing we're adding in is how do we build a business case around that? How do we help you? How do we benchmark it? What other people have done and so on? When you're done with POC, then how do you move this thing into pilot? Because there's one thing of proving the concept. Everything is what does it look in the pilot? And then once that is finished, okay, how do we move it to production? And then how do we improve on that? There's always continuous improvement. How do you add additional use cases and so on? So we're looking to figure out what is the process to do that, how to help. We have a team of 40 plus people in the company that are solely dedicated to do that. And quite frankly, you're part of that team. You're a virtual team member. How do we gather knowledge across all of you and share it back to all of you? So any feedback, please share with us in any of the activities and so on. And I hope a year from now, we can present you back on what's the next generation of this. And just as much as we have innovation on technology, we can innovate on your customer experience. Thank you so much. Big applause to folks that spend time with you. And thank you for being there.